So you've been gone from the FBI for 8 years?
Yeah, a little more than 8 years now.
So this is what Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI right now, posted over the weekend. Former FBI director James Comey brought shame to the FBI badge yet again this week. The director, he means Kash Patel here, and I spend an inordinate amount of time cleaning up the messes left behind by former director Comey, and his latest actions are no exception. What could still be considered one of your messes after 8 years at Christopher Wray?
I don't know. I'm wondering whether the deputy director has me confused with somebody. I mean, somebody else was director for 8 years, including 3.5 under Donald Trump's. I don't know what the messes are. I must have hidden them deep somehow, but I think he's confused.
When you see the stories of people like Danielle Sassoon, who was a Federalist Society conservative Republican lawyer who left under political pressure around the Eric Adams case, when you see people like Mr. Dennehy, longtime, highly regarded FBI agent who his first message to the workforce was, we're going to, quote, dig in. And then not long before Kash Patel was confirmed, he's gone, he's out. When you see the list being assembled of people in the Bureau and at the Department of Justice who worked on January 6 cases, are your thoughts about the vulnerabilities that we face now as a country without those people there, or are your thoughts about what's replaced them? Just take me through how you see the Department of Justice, where you were the number 2 under George W. Bush, and the FBI and SDNY, which you ran. I mean, you've served in the Department of Justice and the FBI for the better part of your life and career. And a lot of people who've been purged from it, including lifelong conservative Republicans, feel that it's being gutted.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. And my worry has 3 dimensions to it. I worry about the threat. Right, there's still really bad people want to do grievous harm to America. And the FBI, by its competence, not ideology, nothing else but being able to do your job well, stops those threats. And so when great people are pushed out, or great people who stay are forced to keep their heads down, we are less capable at stopping those threats. I also obviously worry about good people. It's just a tragedy to have people like Danielle Sassoon leaving the government. These are the kind of people you want in those roles. And third, I worry about the institutions. Harm is being done to the reality of those places, especially by the people being pushed out or ducking, and to the reputation. Right? We need to believe in our institutions of justice, that they're competent and that they're just. And that's harder and harder to believe. It's going to be a very painful 3.5 years for the Department of Justice and the FBI. They're going to be okay in the long run because you don't change a culture by shouting at it or calling people deep staters. But there will be a lot of rebuilding to be done when this is over.
Most people who were involved in post 9/11 counterterror work, whether from the intel side or the law enforcement side, are very worried about a lot of the cuts, a lot of the brain drain, and a lot of the focus and assets being moved to the border. What are your thoughts on that?
Same. And I also don't know how it is that the FBI moves resources like that. I could not move anything that had a value of implicating $100,000 or something without going to Congress, because Congress makes a law each year that says this is how the FBI in great particular is going to spend its resources. Half of those come through the intelligence budget. And if you're going to make a change, you got to go ask the lawmakers how to make that change. Is that happening today? The FBI has a very sophisticated way of figuring out how we should devote our resources. We never just said, the president wants us to do X, so we'll do it. We would always say, well, why? What is the threat? What is our ability to mitigate the threat? And what makes sense for us to do? I don't have any reason to believe that's going on today. Very concerning.
Donald Trump fires you after he asks you to, quote, see to it to let Mike Flynn go. He's a good guy. Let him go. And you say no. What do you think he got out of the people that agreed to take this job, having all that out in the public record?
I don't know. I don't know whether there were loyalty dinners of a similar sort, but watching the current FBI director sit and pal around with the president tells me he got a closer relationship than we've had in more than 50 years, right? Since Hoover, as a country, I thought one of our points of agreement, Republican and Democrat, was the FBI director should not be a buddy of the president's. And I was the 7th director. The 5 before me all tried to live that way. I knew when Barack Obama was downstairs at the FBI playing basketball. I never went down. I love the game because the FBI director cannot be a buddy of the U.S. president.
You've been under investigation. I don't know if people like Miles Taylor and Chris Krebs ever have. There are a whole lot of people being disappeared from the streets for their political speech around the war in Gaza. I mean, what is it like to be under investigation, and how do people withstand that if that is indeed what's being ushered in?
It's hard. It gets easier the more times you do it. Unfortunately, I have experience. But you have to do two things at the same time that seem contradictory. You have to be clear-eyed about the threat to you, if you're being threatened with physical violence or you're being threatened with an investigation, and to your family. You have to take prudent steps to protect yourself. But you have to do something else that's hard. You can't overstate the threat, right? When you're being targeted, there's a tendency to see the boogeyman under every bed that you sit on. You can't give them that space in your head, because in some contexts, that's their goal, is to freak you out. And so what I advise people to do is, look, the rule of law is still our saving grace. We have a judiciary in this country that will support the truth. Take solace in that. Take prudent steps, but don't freak out. These people are not good enough for you to be freaked out about. Protect yourself. Be measured about the effect the threat has on you, and know that you're going to be okay.
Maybe don't freak out should be the next message you post.